Hi, fourth grade mathematicians. We are on another week of learning. Last week you learned about division. Today we're moving to another concept, and that's reviewing fractions. So hope that you get your color pencils ready because you've got some work to do in your packets that require some shading, and so you can use some color pencils to do that. So this week, the beginning of our week, the target we're going to work on is that you can identify equivalent fractions and compare fractions. So when we're comparing, we might use the symbols of equal to, we might use a symbol less than, or the symbol greater than. And so we're going to look at fractions and decide, are they equivalent? Can we compare them? Which one is greater than the other? The work that you're going to do in your packet on Monday, June 1st, can you believe it's June already? Here we go. So your color pencils can be used to, first of all, shade in the fractions across the top into these equivalent units of 1, and they're broken into different parts. And so you're going to shade them, and then you're going to do a comparison problem using some of these fractions here, and then write which two fractions are equivalent. Now, I want to remember what a fraction is, first of all. A fraction is a part of a number, so you divide a number, a 1 unit, into equal parts, and however many equal parts you have is your fraction. So example, this one was divided into 4 parts. One of the 4 parts is shaded. A group of 3, one of the 3 is shaded. 2 parts, one of the 2 parts is shaded. Vocabulary of fractions, remember there is the numerator. That's the number of parts that might be shaded. That's always represented on the top of the fraction. How many equal parts are counted? And then we have the denominator. The denominator is the down number, the number on the bottom of how many equal parts something was divided into. So if I have a unit of 1 and I divide it into 2 parts, I get 1 out of 2 would be shaded. If I had this and I divided it into 6 sections, there would be 1, 2, oops, dropped 1 on the floor. There we go. Okay. The 3/6 also represents 1/2 of this whole unit. So 3/6 is equal to 1/2 would be my equivalent fraction. If I did this, then I would know that 2/6 is less than 1/2. So that's comparing. So part of the work that you're going to do between Monday and Tuesday is shading in some fractions, and the second part you're going to do is finding equivalent fractions. So I have a quick sketch of finding equivalent fractions. If I started with 1/3, I shade in one of the 3 parts. Then if I did 2 times as many, I would have 1/3, and this 1/3 is divided into a half and a half and a half. So 2 times as many. So really I'm multiplying 1/3 times 2. So instead of just being 1/3, I now have 2 parts shaded in out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts. If I wanted 3 times as many, I still have my 1/3 shaded in, but I have divided each into 3 parts. So I have 3 times as many pieces. I still have 1/3 of that whole shaded in, but now I've shaded in 3 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 parts. Okay. If I want 4 times as many, I still have my red line here, my 1/3, but if I did 4 times as many, I now have 4 parts shaded in out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I have 4 out of 12. So sometimes seeing the lines is helpful, and we've practiced that earlier this year, but so let's move on to what that looks like as a strategy of just using numbers. So if I'm going to multiply 1/3 and I want twice as many pieces, I then had 1/3 times 2, or I could do 2/2, which gives me 2/6. I'm multiplying the top number by 2 and the bottom number times 2. If I want to multiply 3 times as many pieces, 1/3, 3 times as many, 1 times 3 is 3, and 3 times 3 is 9. So I have 3 out of 9 pieces, which is represented right here. If I want 1/3 times 4, 1 times 4 is 4 pieces would be shaded out of 12 pieces total, which is what was represented right here. And then I don't have a picture of this one, but if I wanted to do 5 times as many, which would be kind of really small pieces, I would have 1 times 5 is 5/15. Okay, so that's a strategy. Instead of breaking apart all the boxes, I can multiply by how many times I want to break the part into. So that's if I wanted to do 1/3. Here's another strategy at the top here of doing times fifth. What if I wanted to break 3/5 into twice as many pieces? So that means this one would get 2 more parts, this one gets 2 more parts, and this one gets 2 more parts. So I'm doing twice as many pieces, which is going to be 6 out of 10 parts. If I wanted to break into 3 times as many pieces, I'm going to have 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 5 is 15. I would 9/15. If I wanted to do 4 times as many pieces, 3 times 4 is 12, and 5 times 4 is 20. Then if I move on, what if I wanted to find some equivalent fractions for 3/4? Well, 3/4, if I did twice as many pieces, I'm going to have 6/8. If I wanted 3/4, 3 times as many pieces, I would have 9/12. If I wanted 3/4 with 4 times as many pieces, I would have 12/16. Okay. If I do one more time, think in your head, what am I going to have if I have 3/4, 5 times as many? So you multiply 3 times 5 is 15, and 4 times 5 is 20. Okay? So your work on Monday and Tuesday is finding equivalent fractions and shading in and writing some numbers on the side. One last thing you're going to come across, might say, find these 2 fractions that have a common denominator. If I look at my 3/5, what's the common denominator of 3/5 and 3/4? My denominator is the down number, so I want to look up here which denominators are the same in both of these. I'm noticing that this one has a denominator of 20, and also this one has a denominator of 20. So my common denominator between both of those is my common denominator for 3/5 and 3/4. 3/5 is 12/20, and a common denominator with that on 3/4 is 15/20. So notice how they both have a denominator of 20. I'm going to leave you with something to ponder. What do you notice between these two fractions and the denominator that might help you later on thinking about what a common denominator is? So that's your little thing to think about, and we will continue with fractions on our next video. Bye.